Spirit podcast with Chris Piak. No pretense, no bullshit. Just Chris and an employer talking about a real-life business problem. Offer a solution and get a job. And here is your host, Chris Piak.
Welcome to the show. I'm glad that you join us here tonight. We have a very, very special guest and a very, very special topic. Ute Blindert is with us. She's an expert in recruiting and in marketing. She works for big German companies doing campus marketing, campus recruiting for them. In other words, finding young talent for German employers. And she's also an author who has written several very successful books. One of them is Per Network zum Job. And the topic that we will talk with Ute about today is the one topic that lurks in the mind of many, many, many expats. That's really, really scaring. Today, we will talk about the German CV format.
Great.
Ute, welcome.
Hi, Chris. I really like that sound.
Yeah, I thought that's appropriate because no other question seems to scare expatriates as much as the German CV format. But it seems you will bring some light into this story for us today.
Yeah, I really hope so. I really hope that for your listeners.
Mm-hmm. Ute, I introduced you already a little bit. Do you want to say 2-3 sentences about yourself, what you do for the companies, and maybe where are the parallels that you see between young German people from university and international professionals when they're entering the job market?
Yeah. Well, what I do for the companies is that I don't do the recruiting for the companies. I guide them through the process. I work as a consultant in campus marketing and help them to address young people from universities and universities of applied sciences, and help them to bring them to their workforce.
What is the biggest challenge that your clients face?
Well, the biggest challenge is that, maybe your listeners know the word Fachkräftemangel.
Labor shortage, yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and that's really a problem here, and it's not all for all the branches. It's not the same for all the branches, but it's very special if you're looking for someone who studies information technology or mechanical engineering, sciences, and all the STEM sciences, huh?
Yeah,
and it's very difficult for many companies to address to those young people. Yeah.
And how, it's very impolite to ask a lady, but how long are you doing this already? For how many years?
Yeah, now for maybe about 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going a little bit off topic here, but I'm just curious. If you compare how the situation was in the labor market in terms of Fachkräftemangel, labor shortage, if you compare how the situation was when you started 10 years ago and how it is today, do you see a change?
Yeah, it is changing a little bit because, for example, digital themes are getting more important than maybe years before. For example, when you study economics and you're an expert in digital marketing, for example, you're really kind of you're like a diamond, huh? And everybody's just looking for you. Small companies, big companies, huge companies, and also agencies who are working for bigger clients, for example. But the thing is, with engineers, for example, or students from information technology, it was kind of the same through the years.
Yeah, that's quite surprising.
Because you always have the problem. I mean, of course, it was different in the years of the financial crisis. Of course, then you had the problem that 2008 they were really looking and really like creeping for all those engineers, and then you had the financial crisis, and maybe for 2, maybe 3 years, it was really like a little. It was much worse for the students who got out of university. But I think from 2010, 2011, it changed again. So, and now we really have a problem. And I mean, bigger companies, for example, the huge companies like BMW or Daimler, for example, they don't have so many problems to find engineers. But for example, they have the problem that they can't find female engineers, and smaller companies often have the problem that they are also addressing to very special profiles, and then it's not so easy to address.
Exactly.
Their job.
I have a feeling a little bit that I don't know what your experience is, but I have a feeling that the Pareto principle also applies for job applicants. You know that 80% of applicants will apply with the top 40 companies, and
that's
the
right.
rest has to deal with the rest.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Today we want to talk about the German CV and shed some light on this and how to improve your CV so that it speaks to recruiters, HR managers. Maybe we start with what would be your top 3 or top 5 topics that an international professional should pay attention to when he's preparing his CV?
Yeah, the main principle is one which for me is really kind of universal. It has to do that the applicant should think about who is reading my CV. Who's the person I'm addressing the CV to? You have to think that the person who's reading your CV doesn't have lots of time. So you really have to think about how can I put all the important information into the 1 or 2 pages of my CV. How can I do that? This is my main topic. The second one is, this is the difference between Germany and other countries, or I would say this is kind of a difference. Sometimes we are a little bit more, a little bit more focused, a little bit more not so. We don't write it as a CV in such a narrative way. It's more like a get to the point. It's very factly, get to the point, write down what are the points you're good in, and that's it, huh? And the third one is that the German CV is really, it has changed a lot in the last years. When I started, it was kind of very different from international CVs, but today it has changed concerning that it's more international now. I really think that many points have came from the Anglo-Saxon CV, from the American CV, and it has changed a lot. I think it's more modernized, I guess.
Yeah. Do you have a feeling for, there's this Europass standard?
Yeah, I really like that.
Is that widely accepted in Germany?
Yeah, you can use it. You can use it because it's really, it really gets to the point. But I don't think it's very beautiful. I don't like the layout when you just take it, and it's a Euro CV, and when you just take it and let me explain this a little bit. It has the format is kind of very standardized, and you have the points where you write about your working experience. You write a date, and then you write the date, and then you write the company, and then you write the name of the company. Then you write position, then you write the position, and then the fourth one is you write about what did I do in this position. Yeah. So you have 4 points, and then you have you replicate this through the CV, and this is kind of annoying, I guess. So what I would do is very easy. You just take the date, I mean the real date, and then you write the name of the company on the right side, and then you take the position and write the position on the left side, and then you write what is in the position through 3 to 4 bullet points, and then you can really use this very standardized CV, because it's very easy for everybody. You know, it's it's ready made, and just change it a little bit, and then it's really okay to work with that one.
Yeah, you said in the beginning that you really like it despite its ugly format.
Yeah. If you change the format a little bit, then it's not really beautiful, but you can really work with it, and every recruiter will do the same.
Yeah, and the good thing is, you know, you don't need to worry endlessly about how to structure your CV. You have a format, and you can use it. On immigrantspirit.com, there is a full paragraph with, a full article about the German CV format. There's also a link for the EU standard CV form that you can download and use. So
and I also have a link, and you can also maybe if you want to, you can add you also use the link from my webpage karriereletter.de, and where I used the Euro CV and switched it in the new form.
Oh, okay. That's karriereletter.de. So
yes.
Karriere is German for career, letter is letter, and then the E for the German internet prefix, karriereletter.de. That's Ute Blindert's website. Yeah, this is already 3 interesting points. I wanted to add, you said one thing that's really, really true. Recruiters in HR, they don't have much time that they spend with each CV. I had a conversation with Henrik Zaborowski, the Martin Luther of German recruiting.
Yeah.
And it was very, very funny because we were 3 people, all of us in this HR industry, and we got an email where someone complained and said, yeah, you know, I spent an hour writing my CV and making it perfect, and then a recruiter will spend only a few minutes looking at it.
And
all 3 of us laugh because it's never a minute. It's 6 to 12 seconds that they will have for the first glance, you know.
Yeah, okay, for the first glance. But if you are a recruiter and you're clever, and you see a word like I'm a mechanical engineer or I studied information technology, then you might switch from the 6 to 10 seconds and just say, okay, let's have a look on it.
Exactly. That would be my question. What would be your best advice that you can give in the CV? Because the first challenge, of course, is to pass this first test. No? First 6-7 seconds. Do I throw the CV away? Or will I spend more time to actually understand what this person has to offer? What would be the most important thing that someone could do to get to this second stage?
Yeah, what I would do, I would put all the important things on the first page.
What would they be?
I mean, if you put the most important things on the second page, nobody will ever read it, you know. So it really depends on how what is the point where you are at your career right now. You know, for example, if you are a graduate, then you should put your university degree and your education on the first at first, and then on the second part you should put your work experience, so that everybody can see, okay, what did you study at right now, and what are the things you experienced until now, and only the experiences that are important for the job profile. This is, for example, if you did an internship, or if you studied abroad or worked abroad, all those things should be on the first page. So, and all the things that are not important, for example, where did you go to school, or did you make an how do you say, freiwilliges Jahr or something like that?
If you volunteered somewhere.
If you volunteered somewhere, or went to the army or something, if it's not relevant for the job, you should put it on the second page. So that on the first page, everything should be there that is important for the job. And then you should think about what are the key words of the job profile, and you should put those keywords into your CV. on the first page. I mean, the first page is the most important one, and so you should try to write down all the stations where you did your studies or where you did your work, your jobs and things like that, and put the name of the company there, your position, and what you did at the either on in your studies or in your jobs.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, if I can join in there, because a lot of people, and I think if I would have to apply for a job, I didn't apply for a job for 30 years, you know. But if I would apply, when I had to apply for jobs, you still put the profession of your parents and the religion of your parents into
Yeah,
this.
okay. No.
Can you imagine how long time that is ago?
Yeah, okay.
We basically
it's
carved them in
really long
stone,
ago.
you know.
Yeah.
So back to my question is that's a question that a lot of people have, and I would have this myself. What kind of details would you put into each position?
Yeah,
what should I actually write there? What I do?
You should really think about what is important for the job profile. I mean, this is really, you should take the job, the advertisement, or what you read or what you learned about the job, and try to think what is really, really important for it. I mean, the studies, you can't change your studies. When you study mechanical engineering, it's mechanical engineering. But you can think as which was my main focus. And sometimes you can switch a little bit. So you can say, okay, I did a lot of construction in my studies, or you can say, okay, I didn't do so much construction if you aren't applying for a construction job, for example. So, and what you should also do, you should write the title of your thesis, for example. It should also be in your in the part of about your education, for example. So, and when you switch to the work experience, you should use the bullet points. I would always say the work experience, which is the most important, should be the main, should be the fullest, You should put the most of your bullet points in there. If you are someone who has a lot of working experience, you should just switch your education on the second or even on the third page. It's not important anymore when it's like 15 years ago or something. So, but what you can do with the bullet points, you can change your focus always. You can look at the job profile and write about maybe a job is more into marketing or it's more into public relations, and you can take parts of your foreign or actual job into your bullet points and write about those things you did there. You can switch always a little bit.
Yeah. May I interrupt, because we're already getting a couple of live questions as well.
Okay.
And I think they've fit quite well to what you are explaining right now. There are two of them right now from Amakwa is the first one. He says, what about an MBA graduate with 5 or 6 years experience? Should they put their education first or the work experience first?
Yeah. And the MBA was parallel to the job, or was it before the job?
I can't see from the
okay. So if it's not parallel to the job, I would put the job first. I would always put the actual action first. I mean, if someone is studying, I would put the education first, and if someone is working, I would put the work experience first. So in this time, I would use the work experience, and then write about the work experience. 5 to 6 years should be something about maybe maybe it's enough for 1 page, or maybe he can just presses a little bit, and then he can put the MBA also on the first page, and then the work experience before the MBA, because I really think the MBA, if it's not parallel to the job, is really like something is changing. Really, it's changing because you're really getting deeper into things, get new knowledge, and then you can use this knowledge and take it into your job. So it's really like everybody will understand that.
Yeah, that's a big step forward. Second question, also to this topic from Amir Khalilov. When indicating experience, how to describe what you did so that you look like an achiever rather than a doer? So how to put more the focus on what you have achieved instead of simply what you have done?
Yeah, maybe it's a
tough
good
audience.
way.
A tough audience.
But maybe a good way is to divide. If you work for one company and then you achieve new things, you can divide this the station at the company. I mean, wie sagt man das? Diese Station so? It's part of the working part at the company. You can divide this in different points. For example, you can write, I worked from 2015 to 2000 until now in company XY. And then you take a second date and say from 2015, from 2016 to 2017, I was a team advisor, blah, blah, blah. And then you take from 2015 to 2016, I was a team member. So everybody can see, okay, you switch from team member to team advisor. And then you can also write down in team member what you achieved. And then when you are a team advisor, you can write down what you did in this job. And yeah, this would be the thing I would recommend.
Okay. How about well, I put this question back. I have a question that's related to this, but I will ask it a little bit later.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the questions that we already got in advance, is there something that you would like to add to make this first insight complete, or are we finished with this part and move on to the questions?
Yeah, we can move to the questions, because one thing I would like to recommend for the first page was one of the questions was the one with the pictures, with the profile photos, and this is one thing which is really, really important, because companies in Germany are not allowed to ask for profile photos anymore, because we have an anti-discrimination law. And if you don't want to put a picture, you can leave it. It doesn't matter anymore. But I mean, this is a problem here, because in many huge companies and in very modern companies, of course, you have a lot of persons who know a lot about anti-discrimination law and things like that. But in many companies, you still have persons, you still have people who really like pictures.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Which in itself is already an argument not to send a picture, if you think about it. Which in itself is already an argument not to send pictures. If you think about it, because, you know, I had this experience. I was in a company, head of HR was sorting through CVs.
Yeah.
And the pictures she liked, they came onto the closer look staple. The pictures she didn't like, they went out of the door.
Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah. It's not very professional. I know. But you know, the problem is, you know, the sweet should be sweet for the one who is addressed,
Exactly.
So sometimes it might be a good idea to put a picture on the CV. I don't like to recommend this, but sometimes it's a good idea. For example, if you're applying for a job in a smaller company or in a, you know.
Yeah, actually, what I always do is, especially when it's a smaller company, simply call them and ask how would they like their application to be prepared. No?
Yeah.
Most easiest thing in the world, because also, you know, some companies, they want you to send all your documents right away, and others, they just want your CV for a start.
Yeah,
you know?
that's a good idea. Yeah, you're right.
Easiest ways to ask, but I tell you, HR people don't like that when you call them.
Yeah, I know. And this is it's a very tough part of my work, because I always say, I mean, we can't talk about Fachkräftemangel. Please say the English word.
Labor shortage.
Labor shortage. You can't talk about labor shortage and be so rude for people who are calling you and asking things about jobs. Huh?
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah, to be honest, partly I can understand them because it's a little bit our fault. I mean, the fault of HR service providers like us, because they get so many calls, sales calls from people like us who want to sell them something, that they are a little bit apprehensive to talk to you. So, but in the end, you know, they are there to win talent for their company, so they should be willing to answer a question. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the questions that we have. Let's see, we might not take all of them. We take a few and then we take some more from the audience as well. If you have a question that you want to ask Ute about the German CV format, feel free to already put it into the chat on YouTube Live, and we will pick them up along the way. So here, first question was, which information is the most important one for the hiring manager and for HR?
Yeah, I mean, the most important is what did you learn? What do you know? What do you know? What did you learn? What is your experience? So you should write about how long is your work experience? Where did you work? What did you work? What did you learn? Those are the most important things. And you should, on the one side, you should be very focused. You should be really to the point. And on the other hand, you should explain a little. For example, like we said before, what did I achieve? What did I learn? Where did I go on with my experience and the things I did?
This brings me to a question, the one that I had before that I didn't ask. How do you deal with things that are not obvious, that are hard to explain? I'll give you one example. My wife works in asset management, and she's working ever since she came to Germany, she works for the same company. But this company has been sold 4 times. And every single time they changed their name. So it looks on the CV, if you don't know that, it would look like my wife changed her job every year or so. But in reality, she had the very same job for the last 5 years. How do you transport this information in a concise form and in a form that will not seem like you are bad talking your former employers?
I really think it's kind of easy. I mean, I would write the actual name, and then I would take how do you say Klammern?
I don't know. In
brackets, no?
Brackets, right?
Brackets. Yes. You write the actual name, and then you take brackets and say formerly known as, and then the other names.
Love symbol.
Oh yeah. Or what you could also do, if you said it changed maybe over the last 5 years 3 times, you could also use a little star and then explain it on the down on the CV.
Yeah, in the postscriptum, yeah.
Yeah, because it's not that important. It's more important what she did in her actual job and what changed maybe in the last 5 years. What did she achieve in the last 5 years?
Okay.
Independently of the name of the company, yeah.
Yeah, genau. So next question, also one that I get quite often. How long should your CV be?
Yeah, I would say if you're a career starter, I would say maybe 2 pages should be enough. But if you're getting on with your experience, you could also make it a little bit longer, maybe 2 or maybe 3 or 4 pages. But it really depends on what you really what is your working experience and how detailed should it be. What could be a good idea is to make your CV quite short. Put all the main information in there, and then write a little post. Say, okay, I have a project list. This is also a good idea if you, for example, if you're an IT consultant, or if you work as a consultant, for example, you can say, okay, I have a project list, and then you make a project list with a tablet, with a table, and make it more detailed, and so everybody can really get all the information that is needed. Because if you had many different projects, sometimes it's very important to see, okay, is it more into programming, or is it more into consulting, or which programs are the ones you are focused on, and things like that. And of course, if you're someone who achieved a scientific career, it's also different, because then you have a publication list, you have conferences and those. So a CV, a scientific CV could be something about 6 pages, and that's okay.
Yeah, which brings me to the next question. You partly answered it already. What can I delete in my CV? If I feel it's too long, what should I delete? Courses, personal references, previous work experience was the question.
Yeah,
that was a really bad idea.
Yeah, for example, if you worked, internships between your school, it doesn't matter anymore. For example, if you all the things you did in your studies to earn money, working with McDonald's or something, it's not important anymore when you started working. When you start working, it could be important to explain why your studies took a little bit longer. Then it could be important, but it's not important for your work experience. It's something that is called just jobs. So, you can leave that alone after maybe when you started working.
Yeah. What about someone who has quite substantial work experience, 10, 12 years?
Yeah.
Because I actually get this question quite regularly, that someone feels like, oh, okay, yeah, I had this, I worked for this company, and this company, I left it out of the CV because it got too long.
No, and 10 to
not a good idea. Or?
No. I think 10 to 12 years is really. You should put 10 to 12 years, or maybe 15 years into your CV. So, for example, when you started working and your studies are just 5 years ago, you should put your studies into your CV, but it's not as important as before. So you can put it on the second page, so that your work experience on the first page, and then. And this is one thing that has changed in the last years. The German CV was years before from the oldest to the newest. So you started with the oldest part and got to the
people
newest
still had
one.
Time.
Yeah, and on the second page you got to the newest one. That has changed, and this is really a good thing. So you start with the newest and with the actual job, and then you go back in time. So when you have 15 years of work experience, you leave your academic education behind, or maybe just have 1 to 2 sentences, and then it's you don't need it anymore. So, but yeah, I would say up to 15 years is important.
Next question is related to that, and that's how do you deal with gap periods in your work experience?
Yeah,
years of unemployment and this kind of things.
Yeah, that's not so easy. Because you have two things in here. You have the public relation talk, and many companies, they say, okay, we like it if people are experiencing new things, if someone was traveling or things like that, or having kids, for example. So, but I really know from behind that often HR is really like, oh no, they're getting cold feet. How we say in German, they're really like, oh no, it might be a risk to have a person who went abroad and sailed the world and things. So what I recommend then is to go through networking. You really should find a company that is open-minded, that is looking for persons who are also open-minded and say the word. And yeah, the one company I worked for was really interested in people like that. They really loved it if someone went abroad and traveled and did things like that. But if you have this break in your CV, yeah, you can really just like sometimes if it's not too long, you can try to verschleiern or to make it a little bit blindsided.
You can find a euphemism, you know.
Yeah.
If you were employed for a year, then you write, I was re-evaluating my career options.
Yes, reorientation or something like that. If you're reorientation.
No, it's right. It's right.
Yeah. Or if you're having kids, you can also. I mean, you can't. If you stayed at home for 3 years with your kids, you just write this down. But I would do a parallel strategy. I would apply the usual way, but I would also try to find jobs through networking, but because it's not so easy to get back into jobs.
And that's even true for people who are born in Germany, who grew up in Germany or fluent in Germany. If you're a little bit off standard, then your life gets really difficult, and that's really frustrating.
Yeah, and I mean, if you change the perspective and go and look through the HR view. Sometimes I can understand this because it's like they are like a business service, so they just like they are not so very risky here. So because so they say because I mean sometimes companies here are not so.
And this can also be. There's a little shimmer of hope in that, you know, because what they really care about, and that's my experience, maybe you made a different one, Ute. What they care about is not so much that there's something unusual going on that's, of course, not good, but what is really freaking them out is if they don't know. So if there's 2 years and you don't know what you did there. So it's better would be my advice, you know, it's better to write for 2 years. I was traveling the world, or I was reevaluating my career, or I found my inner child, or something like that. As long as they don't have to wonder what you did. In my experience, that's really a deadly sin. If they're not sure what you did, because they can't handle uncertainty.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good point. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you see this differently or.
Yeah, I really think it really depends on the company. Yeah, I don't think that you can find this open-minded kind of view in all the companies.
Another question was, how can I streamline my work experience to show my expertise?
Yeah, I looked streamline. I looked that up.
Maybe he means. I was also the question is not really clear. Maybe what he means is if when you work in different industries throughout your career. How can you make it appear more logical? You know.
What I really think is good here in this point is to streamline the meta. The main points, the main parts in here, because if you are doing things, for example, if you work in marketing, or if you work in controlling, if you work in in sales, for example, it looks kind of different, but if you really go into it, and for example, if you see in all the jobs he or she worked with data, for example, so then it's not so different, So because if you work in marketing with data, or if you work in controlling with data, so you have the main part in it, so you should try to think about what is the meta thing in the things.
What is the higher level that they have in common?
Yes.
Like for example, you know, I started my career. I used to be a radio journalist and a news anchor. And then I went into finance journalism. Then I went into marketing, and then I went into coaching, but all of these different areas, they all share common quality. They are all about communication.
Yeah,
so
you're
I
right.
work in communication.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and with
good.
me, for example, I always liked liked career things, and then I like career things from different perspectives, from the applicant's perspective, from the companies, and also from the from the I mean, in the middle part. I love that.
You have a 360-degree view on the topic.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Good. Next question, and this goes to the core for many job seekers. I'm from Macedonia, and I don't know German language very well. Not so sure how to manage with that in my CV. Should I mention that in my CV?
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny it. I mean, if you write about the languages you speak, and you have on the second or the third part page, you have you write about your qualifications, and one part of your further qualifications, and one part of your further qualifications are the languages. So, and then you have there you might have fluent in English, mother tongue, Macedonisch. I don't know the name of the language, and then if you don't just know a little bit basic German, you write German basic knowledge. So everybody will see that your German is not as good as it could be. Yeah.
Would you send if you don't speak German? Would you send your CV in German language or in English?
I would try to find companies here in Germany that are hiring English-speaking people. And I mean, for example, in Berlin or in Cologne or Düsseldorf, for example, there are a lot of companies that are where the working language is English. So you shouldn't have many problems to find a job, even if you don't speak German. But and then I would write the CV in English. I wouldn't write it in German because
from my
okay.
Yeah, from my experience, I would offer an alternative to that.
Okay.
Because I analyzed the complete job market in Germany, and only 1% of German companies hire in English. 1%. So if you exclude 99% of companies, then there's nothing left, because you will literally apply with hundreds of other candidates for these few jobs. In this cases, as in the case of if you dare to have children before, if you're somehow, I would follow Ute's advice from before. You need to go to networking. You need to go ignore HR and find the manager behind the job and talk with him about how you can add value to his concrete problems. Because that's the only way how you can break into German language companies when you don't speak German right away.
Yeah.
Because from the jobs that I see, 80% of them, you could do a great job even if you start in English.
Yeah.
But you have to find a manager who has an open mind and who is willing to take a risk on you.
Yeah.
And that goes really only through networking.
Yeah.
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 Okay. One other tip that comes actually from one of my former coaches is Vanessa. She's from Canada. She's now working for Airbus. And she had really good results writing the CV in German language, so it was easy to evaluate, but writing the cover letter in English so that people understood, okay, she's not a native speaker.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, because the cover letter is kind of very difficult, I guess, huh? Because even for us Germans who speak English quite okay, it's kind of very difficult to write a cover letter in really, really good English. I mean, in the language you need to show your motivation, to talk about the things you achieved. It's really, really not easy.
Yeah.
It's the same with German, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I heard often when I talk to very huge companies, because when we talked before, I work in campus marketing, and many companies there. I mean, most of the the big companies are looking for graduates, and many HR people there say, okay, it doesn't matter if you write your CV in English or in German.
Yeah.
But at least you should have a kind of a working knowledge, working German. If you want to, in many companies, you need a kind of basic German to work with, not work with your direct colleagues, but also work with someone who is working production line, or that should be, you should know a little bit German. Yeah, it's often important.
Good. Next points. How many bullet points should I have in my CV per employment?
Yeah, it depends on how important this company or this point is in your CV. I always say it's something like like a candy experience, as something very special. You should write something about 4 to 5 bullet points, and if it's not so important, you can maybe use 2 to 3.
Okay, good. I switch a little bit between the questions we got in advance and the live questions. Here's one from Victor, and I want to pick it because I have a feeling where this comes from, and I got questions like this before. And that is, if I want to apply for a job with low education, want to try an Ausbildung, Weiterbildung, or dual university, should I put my bachelor degree and all experiences related in the CV Lebenslauf? I take this question because, Victor, if I guess correctly, then the reason why you want to make an Ausbildung is because you feel that with your existing professional background, with your bachelor's degree, you can't break into the market. Now, if I'm wrong and you really want to just start a totally different career, then I'm sorry, then I misunderstood you. But if the reason is that you faced so much rejection with your bachelor degree that you feel like you have to start from the beginning, my advice is don't do this. I remember a day about 3 years ago, I gave a speech at the American Women's Club here in Düsseldorf. And later I sit together with some of the women there and we talked about their life. And two of them both asked me, am I good enough? They were really, after 2 years trying and searching and trying to find a job, they were really desperate and felt like, am I good enough? And one of them used to work for the London School of Economics, and the other one had a degree from Berkeley. So
incredible.
Yeah, terrible actually. And if my guess is right, then let me tell you, there's nothing wrong with your education. You don't need to start from scratch. You need to talk to different people.
Yeah.
You need to go to networking, like Ute said, and reach out to the managers instead of HR.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I mean, this is often. I mean, Germans are often kind of they are focused on, on qualifications, on marks, and on I don't know, Zeugnisse. Please say.
Yeah, everything that you couldn't put a stamp on.
Yeah, everything you could put a stamp on is really German. This is a difference, Yeah,
and it's not nice to say, but my guess is that the real reason why we are so focused on stamped, of course, is security, and not the security of the company, but our own security.
Yes,
because if you have a stamp, then it means you didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Next letter is chicken or egg. First criteria for HR during the sorting out applications: CV or cover letter? Which is first?
Yeah, I would say CV is sorting out or to look at.
Let me check again. 1 moment. I think that's the first thing when they decide what to keep and what to get to the next round. Which applications they will put aside to have a further look on which applications they will reject right away? What do they first look at the CV or at the
At the CV? The CV, usually at the CV. But I also know HR people who prefer to have a look at the first look at the cover letter.
Yeah.
Well, it really depends on the person, but I worked for companies who are looking for persons with technical background, and they are kind of more. They have more the engineer's view perspective, and so they're kind of everything has to be in order. So they like CVs because they are in tables, and everything is really like with bullet points and things like that. So it was a CV first.
Yeah, and when in doubt, call them up and ask.
Yeah,
what is important to you?
Yeah, no, and this no, I mean no, because this is not really. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which part he or she is looking at first. It doesn't matter for you.
But you know why you should
you just write a good CV, and then you also write a good cover letter, because you don't send your CV and then you send your cover letter. No, you send everything all together, so it doesn't matter for you. Don't call.
You know why you should call them.
Nope.
It's very good that we have different viewpoints. It's very good for the
yeah.
You know why you should call them? Because when you have them on the phone, you have a pretext to ask them, by the way, I have 2 questions that I want to ask you. So that I can prepare my CV in a way that's easy for you to evaluate. And the first question is, what is the biggest challenge you try to solve with this position? And why is this important? Yeah. And the second one, how do you measure success in this position? And if you ask this question to an HR person and you get a usable, realistic, intelligent answer, then please call me and you win a prize. Because unfortunately, that's I'm sorry if I badmouth HR a little bit. It would be the first time that I ever get a really good answer to this question from an HR person.
Yeah. Yeah, but
so
I mean, I understand you. It's really I mean, it's I can understand, and it's also like challenging. But I really think it's kind of it's more like a service position. You know, and the problem is sometimes that I mean, of course, they are in this service position, and of course, they don't know all the things that
to be fair, they often have
doing,
60 or 80 jobs that they have to fill.
Yeah,
so it's
so you can't know all the things. So, and I mean, you can do that, you can call, but I wouldn't do that with this kind of question. No.
Okay, good. This is very good. I like it when we have a different viewpoint, because then it helps the people who listen to hear both sides of the argument and make their mind up for themselves. So another one. This is a nice one. It's a little bit longer. As a young, talented engineer who prides himself on being an out-of-the-box problem solver, I sometimes find the insistence on a German CV format stifling and restrictive. I have been successful in my home country by sending applications that highlight my skills rather than following a tried and trusted 0815 CV recipe. Any suggestions or ideas on how to transfer my innovativeness into my job application so as to get job interviews and naturally lead to an interesting job would be helpful. So how do look HR people on a more creative CV? I would translate that like this.
I mean, I don't have I don't have marks for you, like numbers for you. I would try. You should. I mean, you should try. I mean, the thing behind this is that you think, and that you are moment. You are convinced. You are so convinced that you would like to show your creative personality, and so it's important for you to work in a creative company and work with creative people. So try to figure out where are they, I mean, this is through networking. Look at Kununu or Glassdoor. I mean, yeah, you know, maybe you can explain this later, and do a little research for companies and people that are interested in things like that. And if it's so important for you, then you should find a company where this is also important. So maybe you should just try to have a look at the kind of German CV and at your narrative CV, and maybe change it a little bit more in a German CV style, but not too much. Because if it's really your thing you want to do, you should try to do that. I wouldn't change it too much. I would really, maybe you just have to look a little bit longer. And maybe what you should also do is just use your profiles at LinkedIn or Xing, which is a German professional network, which is very important in Germany still. Yeah, it really is. Because I had a training last week with HR people, and they said they always look through Xing. They do active sourcing through Xing and Xing, and so maybe you should use your professional profile there to do it a little bit more in a formal way, and also put your CV in your narrative way. I'm really sure if you're a really professional person and you know your things, you will find something.
Yeah,
what do you think, Chris? Are you the same? Do you have the same
I
idea?
totally,
or do you have another idea?
No, I totally wanted to support you here. Xing is in Germany still much more important than LinkedIn. There's 10 million people on Xing, and as you said rightly, Ute, every recruiter, but also every manager who is interested in you, they will check your Xing profile. And if you don't have a Xing profile, it means that you are an unknown item. And as we mentioned before, things that are unknown or unusual or we don't know, that's never good in dealing with German employers, you know. So if you don't have a Xing profile, it's free of charge. That would be the first thing that I would change. Open up a Xing account.
Yeah, I mean, it's free of charge if you have a basic profile, but I would recommend the premium profile. It's not very expensive. It's something about 10 euros a month, and if you have for 1 year, it's even cheaper. But the good thing then is that you can have you can do a research by yourself. And the research in Xing to look for companies to set some filters. It's really good. You can really do good research for people, for companies, and it's really easy. It's much easier than doing research through LinkedIn. Yeah, much easier.
Exactly. That's by the way, that's what I use with my excuse me, what I use with my paying coaching clients. I have a job offer guarantee where I guarantee that candidates find a job within 6 months if they implement my program. And that's exactly what we do. We use Xing. They choose the job that they are interested in, and then they use Xing to find the most likely manager behind the job.
Yeah, that's a good.
I will introduce them to this manager so they can talk directly with the manager about the real challenges for this job instead of talking to HR.
Yeah, this is really good. It's a really good way. This is one thing I really recommend. Yeah.
Good. Maybe let's take 2 more questions because we are close up to. We wanted to make 30 minutes. We are close up to 1 hour now.
Oh gosh!
But it was really interesting. Time flies with you, Ute. One question is a narrative paragraph explaining my unique background and experience acceptable in addition to the lines of positions and achievements?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I told before, but that's a German CV now is a little bit. It has really changed. It's modernized. It's Americanized, I would say. So a little paragraph in front. I mean, between the contact information and all the experiences, you can put the little narrative in there. What you could also do, but I don't like it so much, is to have a front page. Use the front page, put your, if you'd like to, a picture there, and then write a write your phrase there. But I don't recommend an extra page. I don't recommend a front page. I don't really like it because it's I really like it to have everything on one page. I mean, on the first page, the main things on the first page.
Very good. Last question. Do I need to mention my age? Quite regularly, I have people who are maybe 50, 55 years looking for a career change. Should they mention the age? Do they need to?
They don't need to. You don't have to mention this because the anti-discrimination law says that you can't be discriminated because of age, religion, sex, gender, sexual orientation, and religion, things like that. But I mean, of course, if you write about your work experience, everybody will get an idea how old you are.
No. If your earliest employer was the emperor, then I understand that you're not that young anymore.
Maybe, but then you can have then you will be a famous person and will be on television and not have to apply for jobs.
Exactly. Ute Blindert, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me here.
For the people who listen to this podcast, many of them, they have quite a lot of work experience, so they will be in positions where they can hire people once they find a job. If they are looking to have a good way how to reach out to young students, where could they find you?
They could find me on my webpage. It's just like my name, uteblindert.de. And you can also look at all the social and professional online profiles, look for my name. And I'm also on Twitter with Ute Blindert.
Ute Blindert, and you can find her on uteblindert.de. Maybe check out also her different books, especially Per Network zum Job, if you speak German already. And I thank you very much for joining us tonight. My name is Chris Piak. I'm the Managing Director of Immigrant Spirit GmbH, and I wish you success. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.